If you are an adult starting your fitness journey, we're gonna give you 8 exercises that you should avoid. The first exercise we want you to avoid are Olympic lifts. There's some gyms where this is an integral part of their training. For us, we don't necessarily want you to learn Olympic lifts yet because one, they're probably high risk and there's not a ton of fitness reward associated with doing them. Some common Olympic lifts are hang cleans and snatches. Now, there are a population that we do these things with, most notably our athletes. But we don't necessarily want somebody who hasn't worked out in 15 to 20 years to start these advanced techniques of exercise. We consider these exercises a little bit too much of a high risk, low reward because of the positions that the arms and legs have to get in and the speed at which the exercise has to be performed. Number 2, excessive amounts of jumping and running. A ton of ground contacts could be really tough on your ankles, knees, hips, and low back. Now, if you want to get your heart rate up, there's probably better exercises that you could choose that could take the place of these that don't have nearly as much impact. If the goal is to get your heart rate up, try to choose exercises that don't necessarily require a ton of ground contacts. A couple of great examples that could replace something like jumping and running or going on high resisted walks or trying to walk at a very fast pace. Also going on the bike, rowers, those are all great implements to try to get your heart rate up to get a cardiovascular effect without all the risk associated with it. Exercise number 3 is really more so of a thought process, and this is performing very heavy exercises. So sometimes we used to lift heavy back in the day, but if we're just starting our fitness journey or we're just getting back into it, we probably shouldn't go as hard and heavy as maybe we used to. So what we would define this as is doing 5 reps or less before form starts to break down. So when you first start your fitness journey or restart, let's try to perform exercises that we could at least get 6 very high quality reps with no breakdown in technique. Going pretty heavy in certain exercises will have benefits, but it's not necessarily a requirement when you're first getting restarted. You could see great results in a rep range that is a little bit above going heavy. Exercise number 4 is a combination of 2, and these are squats and deadlifts. Now, we do a lot of this with the majority of our members, but we don't necessarily consider it a requirement to getting started. And now, if you're on your own going to a gym, there is a high technical component to performing these exercises. So if you don't have a ton of supervision or you're not really confident in your form of squatting and deadlifting, you don't necessarily have to add them into the program when you're first getting started on your fitness journey. At some point in time, when you get some more gym experience, you get a little bit more confident with the exercises and maybe get a little bit of supervision, adding things like squats and deadlifts later down the road can be a great option for you. Exercise number 5 are pull-up variations. Now, a lot of people would say that you have to do pull-ups to get great results for upper body exercises and for your back. We would say that you don't necessarily have to do pull-ups at all. There are a ton of machines that replicate the pulling down motion that a pull-up does for you. If you've ever done a lat pull down or a one-arm pull down, these are exercises that are very easy to adjust weight, that you don't necessarily have to lift up your entire body weight, and you can make progressions in the weight that you're selecting very frequently. Exercise number 5 are poorly performed push-ups from the ground. Now, we have almost all of our members doing some variation of push-ups, but doing push-ups from the ground is very challenging, especially when you're required to do them very well with perfect technique. So what we do with a lot of our members is that we elevate their hands, either on a bench that's about 17 inches off the ground, or we set up a bar that's even further off the ground. Now, this will reduce the amount of body weight that you're lifting because of the angle that your body is on. This will make it easier for you to perform perfect push-ups. Now, as you get better at these push-ups, you could reduce the height of the bar or the bench, and then that could be your progression, and then that can get you excited over making improvements in the gym in regards to push-ups. The 7th exercise is a staple in many workout programs, and it is the kettlebell swing. Now again, just like Olympic lifts, we do put these in many of our members' programs, but this is after the fact that they've really performed great bodyweight movements in the hip hinge and they know how to do really good deadlifts. The speed at which this takes place and the motion of the kettlebell makes this very challenging to master. With a ton of practice, you could eventually get really good at the kettlebell swing to have it then give you a great fitness effect, both cardiovascularly and muscularly. However, when you're first getting started, this probably isn't the best exercise to challenge your glutes and hamstrings, and is probably not the best option to increase your heart rate either. Some of the examples that we stated earlier are probably way better options than the kettlebell swing, such as the bike, resisted walking, rowers, and skiers. Exercise number 8 has a very common theme, and they are burpees. If the goal of burpees when you do them is to increase your heart rate, there is again a much better way of going about this than doing a poorly performed push-up from the ground, which is one of our exercises, and then a high impact exercise of jumping and landing continuously. If you absolutely have to perform some version of a burpee because you love them so much, a squat thrust might be a better option. This eliminates the push-up phase of the burpee, and it doesn't mandate that you jump once you stand up. And again, the same point as before, if you want to get a heart rate effect with your workouts, there are much safer options with much lesser risk and much greater reward than some of the exercises that were stated here. If you have any questions on any of these exercises, or you would like to ask about other exercises, feel free to send us an email, james@prattpersonaltraining.com.